In a video game, if you come across an empty room with a health pack, extra ammo, and a save point, you know some serious shit is about to go down. What is the real-life equivalent of this? Recent experience. 11 p.m. in a particularly rough neighborhood. Random guy on a bicycle calls out from a distance and is riding towards us at an alarming pace. Me and my friend stand firm expecting trouble as the cyclist slows his pace. Cyclist. Go. Keep walking. Friend. What? Cyclist begins to pick up pace again. Cyclist. Madness just happened down the road. Keep moving. Friend. Say no more. Couple minutes later, police sirens ring out a couple blocks over. Found out the next day someone's body was found chopped up and left out in the street. Your parents bringing you your favorite food and talking in a higher voice. In a working environment, suddenly finding out that a whole bunch of your responsibilities have been taken up by another employee who won't say much about it. And your manager starts asking more questions about where you keep stuff. Hi, I'm Chris Hansen from Dateline NBC. Have a seat. If you can use all your material for an exam, you know you're gonna need it. Coming in early for a quick chat with your boss and all the partners are there. Signing a waiver for your consent. Your doctor wants to see you in person to discuss the results. When the company you work for hires consultants to take an unbiased outside look at the company and maybe offer a few suggestions how we can improve and find hidden potential for streamlining our processes. A meeting invitation set for 15 minutes from now with no additional information provided. A indicator that disappears from the chat window. Starts again. Disappears again. Starts again. When I was first dating my now wife, we got tested for STDs at the same time. When we went back for the results, we went into separate rooms. And 5 minutes later she walked by, gave me a thumbs up and said, "I'll wait in the waiting room." The doctor left me there for 15 minutes. 15 minutes during which I became more and more convinced that my ill-spent youth had resulted in me picking up something terrible. Every minute getting more convinced it was HIV. Complete dread. Thinking out how I'd explain to my friends and family how I'd spend the rest of my time. AIDS was still a death sentence, unless you were a pro basketball player. Finally I walked out and asked for the doctor. "Oh, you're still here. All clear. Have a nice day." Walking through HR to a meeting room that's been booked for you. When you are walking through the woods and everything gets silent, no crickets, no birds, nothing. Middle of the day, the sky turns green. Follow-up doctor's appointment after a medical test. And the receptionist tells you to bring a friend when they scheduled the visit. This happened to my wife. Long story short, cancer. She has been cancer-free for 15 years after treatment. Waking up and having a lot of missed calls from family members. When a courier asks you to sign for a package, and it's a manila envelope. Water in the beach retreats dozens of yards inexplicably. When a friend who's been struggling with depression for a while suddenly brightens up, becomes very generous, or wants to get all their friends together for a party, etc. They're saying goodbye. When all the higher-ups suddenly start taking their accumulated vacations. That's when you know the company is about to blow and it's time to find a job before you find yourself without one. You should invite a trusted co-worker or member of your union to this meeting. HR being present in a meeting you've been invited to. When you do something you know you're supposed to be in trouble for, but your mom is all quiet and sad but nice to you. When you get an unexpected call from a loved one in the middle of the workday. When the person in the white coat firmly, yet calmly, asks you to take a seat. Coming home to all your friends and family but it's not your birthday. Someone you don't know asks for you. Using your full name. It's usually a semi-government agency, and it's never free cupcakes. Weather-related incidents are usually calm in the build-up, with animals suddenly starting to freak out. You should sit down. Your boss asks for meeting on Friday at 5 p.m. When someone hits you with the "we need to talk" text. Walking into a classroom and everyone has buried their noses into the textbooks instead of chatting. Someone stopping the light-hearted conversation they were having to come over to you with a serious face when you walk into the room. When your co-workers are super busy and you're just kinda not busy. But every time you go to take work off their hands or pick up projects, they say, "No, it's fine. I can take care of it." And then your work starts getting offloaded onto them as well. Professionally, when the judge starts a hearing by silently reading the papers in front of him, her while scowling in your direction. Personally, you also act shifty before saying, "We need to talk." Take a seat. Shut the door. In war, before they send you into your likely death, they'd often feed you much better than usual. As a child, knowing that you've done something you shouldn't have, and as you eat dinner your parents suddenly go silent and look at you. Air raid sirens on a nice summer day. When you are told to come to the principal's office and to bring your stuff with you. When your mouth starts filling up with watery spit and you know you're about to vomit. If you're a kid in a hospital and you get a visit from the Avengers, well, seeing a suspiciously huge amount of policemen strolling around. I walk into the interview room. There's a glass of water on the table with a full Brita filter next to it. 4 new voicemails, 45 plus new messages on your phone, and the door suddenly rings. Getting a 9x12 manila envelope in the mail. Turn on your TV. What channel? Doesn't matter. Asterisk inspired by a Reddit comment. Asterisk. Your parents take you to a nice dinner before some family news. Your password doesn't work for your workstation. Walking into a room full of people sitting in chairs in a circle. Asterisk asterisk 2 girls in an argument, and one slowly, calmly begins removing her earrings. Asterisk asterisk. When things go bad at a job, good people leave, eventually followed by people who thought they could change things but got buried because too many good people left. Those left are bad people or hostages. The good people are your canary. In my city, fireworks are sometimes used to cover the noise of gunfire. So that, the week of September 11th, our entire 5th grade was at a week-long Camp Klassen. The attacks happened during this week, and no one told us. On the way back home on the buses, everyone was noticing that there were American flags everywhere. Then the bus pulled up to our parents and the look on their faces said something bad went down. When you come home early for a surprise only to find 2 pairs of shoes, 2 jackets in the lobby. 1 pair and 1 jacket belong to your wife. The others are for man but don't belong to you. A couple years ago, my 3-month-old son had an emergency MRI on his brain just to rule out some very unlikely possibilities. We were supposed to be called to the anesthesia recovery room in a couple hours, but got called after like 90 minutes. On our way there, the doctor caught my wife and I right before we got to the room and pulled us into the first random empty room he found. Needless to say, he had terrible news for us. I would say the feeling of being pulled into that room felt exactly like I was preparing for the hardest moment of my life. I very rarely comment, but this seemed to match eerily close to your question. Walking into work and you see everyone is in one room at one table, with your boss at the far end and the only empty seat opposite him. Work starts losing, hiring a bunch new management. At one of my old jobs, there were cops hanging out in the lobby and a couple squad cars around the building. We were all wondering what was going on. Starting around midday, a bunch of us were called into HR one by one and were laid off. The first couple people were caught by surprise. The rest of us weren't after we had seen about 3 to 4 people packing their shit and leaving. I remember walking to that meeting so hopeful that I was not being fired, but I knew by that point. One huge clue I missed was that my supervisor was talking to my manager about getting me additional training, and he declined by only saying, "Not at this time. Why invest in someone who won't be there much longer?" Wish I had known then so I could have prepared. When you go in for a doctor's appointment and there is suddenly a lot of senior healthcare professionals in the room. I had my appendix out this summer, and some weeks later I had a MR scan of my entire intestinal system because they had spotted some inflammation in other places when they operated on me. 2 weeks after that I get called into the hospital to meet the doctor. I'm met by the chief nurse. I'm not entirely sure of the corresponding titles in English here. Who takes me to an examination room that is, I kid you not, barely one step below an operating theatre. The chief surgeon of the hospital comes in, and they sit me down. They're both looking at me with these professionally kind and compassionate faces and ask me several questions about how I've been since the surgery. Have I had any problems afterwards? And so on. Then eventually the following exchange takes place. Chief Surgeon: "We've looked at your MR scans and they're perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you and you won't ever have to come back." Me: "You could have fucking opened with that." Quote, getting told to hang on before you clock in and then being called into the management. Walking into your Senate meeting and you are the only one of your friends without a sword. Meeting with someone you have been talking to online, and when you walk into the empty kitchen, there is a plate of cookies. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe for more content.